Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Harriet Kamak with Down to Earth. And as usual, we talk about the issues that are down to earth. So give me a minute here to perhaps just refresh you on what's on my mind on this bright Friday morning in the first week of October. Like, seriously. Like, am I not even pleased? And typically, October is like my favorite month because it's Halloween in a few, and it starts the fall season, seguing into the holiday season, and we start dressing up again, right? So we have no choice but to dress up because it's too cold not to wear any clothes out there. I mean, I couldn't even fathom putting on just a tank top. I mean, had a glorious summer though, I must admit, because we got a chance to think about wearing during summer. We got a chance to wear all that nice summer clothing, and be a human being. Yeah, I was a person during the summer. Can I just say that? Yes, I was a person during summer, and I got a chance to wear all my tank tops, my flip flops, and just be a person. But here comes fall. Like, hey, where do you think you're going? And I'm like, fall, I don't even like you. So I used to like fall, and I think I still do, but I don't know that I like fall right now because fall wants to fall. Okay, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan because now I'm forced to wear a scarf and I have to wear stuff. So, hi, everybody who is joining. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're joining us by Periscope or Twitter, I just want to say hey and hey to everybody. And if you are anywhere in the United States, you know it's beginning to be fall because no matter where you are, it felt a little crispy this morning. I mean, this morning when I went out, I was like, seriously? That was my first thought. It felt crispy. And I should have known because when I woke up this morning, I was feeling all cozy. And then I realized that the AC is not on. That was the first clue. I should have known that that was the problem. But it was still like cozy under the covers. And then after a while, I got up to go downstairs. And then I realized the AC is not on. There's not that humming sound. The AC is not on. And then I was coming back upstairs and I'm like, ooh, I feel a little chilly. I said, well, maybe we need to adjust the thermostat. No, the AC is not on. That's the cold air seeping in through the insulation in your roof and through the insulation in your walls, telling you that later on you have to put on a scarf and so on. So, Lord, help us. And this is the time of year when folks who live in California and southern Texas, right? And southern Louisiana and Florida and so on. They get to grin at the rest of us as they watch us deal with ice and snow, and they get to be like, "Oh, see, that's why we live in the south, and this is us." Sure, sure. And then later on, when it flips, and they're in the sweltering heat with hurricanes and tornadoes and sometimes earthquakes, we get to say, "Sucks to be you," but at least here in the Midwest what we get to deal with, our challenge is always just ice, sleet, and snow. What folks in the South get to deal with tornadoes, that's the bane of your existence. Hurricanes, hmm that's the bane of your existence. Boom, sucks to be you, right? So it kind of like it pans out for all of us. I don't know if that's a good way to say that because I'm not exactly a fan either way. Okay. So does it sound like we're never happy with the weather? I don't know. I really don't know. But today I want to talk about sperm donors, and we plan our shows ahead of time what we want to talk about so that I am versed on the subject, so that somehow I have some background, so I can give you some background. And this sperm donor thingy has been going, kind of around in the universe for a while, just like out there. But I've been avoiding the subject because I didn't want to offend anybody. because people are human beings, and every human being deserves to be affirmed in their identity and in their personhood as a desired human being, that they were born with a purpose and that there are no regrets for them being here. A lot of what we see around violence and around racism stems from that. It's the denying of a person's personhood, that as an individual and as a person, you have a right to be here and you have a reason for being here and you are valued. Well, what happens with sperm donating, is that it removes that pre planning. It sort of removes that visibility and that affirmation that you were a desired human being who was sought after, and that now that you're here, people want you here. But really, it is true, because the people who go to sperm donating clinics seeking a sperm donor, they're very choosy. They're very choosy about the kind of people they want to cohabit with and the kind of people they want to make a baby with. So they go to a sperm bank and they say, I want somebody who is of a medical background. I want somebody who is of a, you know, who has a scientific mind, or has an IQ of so and so, whose eye color is so and so, whose hair color is so and so. And it works the same for women, because women also donate their eggs to women who can't conceive. And people will say, well, I want someone who is at least a student of an Ivy League college, so that my kid will grow up to want to be an Ivy League college, that kind of thing. So we have advanced so much in human chemistry now that we're altering our, while we can alter our basic biology in terms of the fact that we are made of blood, tissue, and cells. And so what I look like is what the generations after me are likely to look like. We can't necessarily alter that. We're trying to figure out how to alter DNA so we make the desired type of human being we want. But we can configure the social semantics around the person. So we can say, well, if it's in the genes, it's in the genes. So if somebody in your bloodline is a doctor, chances are there is going to be another doctor. My kid will grow up to be a doctor or want to be a scientist. That's how people are looking at this now. Sucks to be human, doesn't it? More and more every day. I think we're trying to find the gene code and trying to be God and trying to figure out how can we replace God. I mean, is it going to come to the time when we think we can actually be a person, when we can replace God and start designing, kind of have humans by design, right? So we're going to be designer human beings. I don't think it's any stretch, because right now we're altering our bodies to reflect that. People are born with certain features, and then after a while, they're like, I'm not comfortable with my nose looking like this or my lips looking like this. I don't want to look like this. I want to look more like that person. So they pay a surgeon, a plastic surgeon, to alter their features. So while we can alter the genetic code, but we certainly are altering the features, the physical features. So we go to a surgeon and change it. People lighten their skin to reflect what they think is prevailing, or what presents them in the best light, what makes them look their most attractive. People change, well, stuff we do, like I changed the color of my hair because I have issues with my hair being black. I've told you that. I've leveled with you and told you that it reminds me of a time when I was powerless, when my ex-husband used to beat me up. So as soon as the seasons come, I change my hair color. I mean, the other day I changed it and she didn't color it blonde enough or light enough. Ooh, didn't work for me. I went back in a week and a half, and I'm like, no, baby, doesn't work. So for whatever reasons, we seek as human beings to change how we look, right? So it's kind of like having baby on demand. You go to the sperm bank and you dial 1-800 baby wish, and you choose what you want the child to look like. Well, that's what happened in this case. This man, he's a doctor, right? And he was a medical student at Oregon Health University, one of those teaching schools. And he was a sperm donor. Young medical students are strapped for cash. And so they will do anything. Young college students anywhere, they'll do anything. Young women sell their eggs because they're so strapped for cash, because you can't look into the future and you can't see how much this is going to impact you later on. I mean, as much as this guy was a scientific expert and was a science student, I mean, he was a medical student, for crying out loud. He lacked the emotional intelligence to see into the future, that he could create children, that donating sperm with the intention of a woman choosing his sperm to make a baby with is in fact creating himself with a family. So he, at some point, he was going to interact with them. So the agreement he had with the clinic was that they would only donate his sperm. He donated his sperm, but they would only give his and paid him a fee. They would only do it 5 times. Turns out they did it 17 times. So he must have been a highly desired donor. So he found out that he had 17 children in addition to the 3 children that he has with his current spouse. I'm not laughing. You can't make this stuff up. This is not the stuff that you make up. I kid you not. 17 children. So he's suing them because he says they violated his contract, and given him, they should have notified him. But the rest of us are like, seriously? You really are going to hand over your biology, your genes, to someone, to a clinic, and think they're going to comply with what you say? Like, seriously. It's just like the rest of you all out there, because not me, I'm not doing it, who go and do a DNA test. And you're like, they advertise it so it's appealing. I want to find out where I'm from. Didn't the oral traditions tell you? Didn't the people around you tell you that you have ancestors from Spain, Portugal, Italy, Germany, Africa, the Congo, Malawi, South Africa? Hey, to all my listeners in South Africa, by the way, thank you for tuning in every day. I really appreciate it. And to the friends in Namibia and Ireland, thanks to all of you who are tuning in. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to tell you that I know you're listening, and thank you. And of course, the United States, right? But think about it. Y'all think that when you do a DNA test, you think it just ends there? You're giving over the knowledge, you're giving over control of what is in your cells, what you are made up of, to some external outside force. Do you realize that? So when they scan all these DNAs and they ask you questions like, what's your occupation? And they ask you, so they match you with a DNA that looks, Jesus, I just said the truth. They match you with a DNA profile that fits what you might think you are made up of. And they store it in a database. So at some point in the future, what do you think they're going to do with it? Do you really think they destroyed it? They have it stored. They'll come looking for you. You suddenly find you get sick, you go in a hospital, they extract your DNA, and suddenly you can get dial-up baby by design. So if they're going to do something else later on, they have everybody's DNA. But notice, they didn't compel you to go in. The government or the state government or the city government or the federal government, nobody compelled you to go in. They just made it sound so appealing. Give it all as a Christmas gift. And people are busy all over the place just tapping into it like, hey, I have relatives and ancestors from all over the place and blah, blah, blah. And the rest of us are like, this is me all day. Really? Are we really allowing ourselves to be duped? So people actually are, I'm going to have like a DNA reveal and I'm going to tell you who I am. I can look at you and tell you who you are. It may be a generation or two removed, but trust me, it's there. So now that we're confronted with the sperm donor situation, I think we need to pay attention. I think we seriously need to pay attention to what? To handing over your DNA. Because this doctor, though he was a medical student, though he was being trained in medicine, had no idea that the future would ever come roaring back at him 17 times over. And that's exactly what happened. So now he's discovering, much to his chagrin, he probably was someone who thought that he was a responsible family man and he raised his children and stayed married and, kept his children together. Now he's finding out that there are 17 of those people went to school and went to college with his own children and even went to the same church for years. They could have dated and didn't know they were related. You still gonna give up your DNA? So all of you who are donating your sperm, that's your DNA. Do you ever go back a year later, 2 years later, and ask them for proof that they destroyed it? I bet you don't. How about when you sent in your ancestry DNA, do you go and check if they have destroyed it? No. I keep saying to you guys that they are obviously collecting this for a reason, aren't they? They're collecting this for a reason. You really think it's just, oh, we just want to check the immigration rolls and we go back 120 years to see that your ancestors came over from Poland or Italy or Wales, or do they check the ones from Africa? Were they really? Or they just picked up some people from the Congo, Nigeria, West Africa, the Ivory Coast. They just picked them up and just no names, no names, no names, whatever, no names. Just threw them on a boat, captured them, shackled them, and brought them up and say, here's the people. They did the same thing with the Chinese. No names, no names, no names. People just took names when they came. Just took some people who were fleeing poverty or fleeing violence or whatever they were fleeing, looking for a better way, and just dump them over here and just say, here, go to California. Right? So I'm asking you one more time. Are you still going to hand over your DNA? Now, this is a medical doctor now, so he has to face his community and say to his community that the way he has lived for the last several years is a lie, because he presented himself as an upstanding member of the community who supports the community, who doesn't tear down anything about the community, and who is an for all intents and purposes, he's a paragon of virtue and a self-fulfilling prophecy of what a family man, an upstanding family, white, upper middle class family man should be like. And then this story comes out. This is not, for me, this is not about in your face so much as it is, did you check the facts? Because you had the knowledge that your DNA and your biology is important and something you should protect. In other words, what I'm saying is your DNA is every inch just as much a part of your identity as your name, date of birth, and social security number, and should be protected just like we protect our name, date of birth, and social security number. Just like there are programs to protect our credit and protect our identity, we should seek to find ways to protect your DNA. When I go to the doctor and they want, hey, thanks for joining me on YouTube, check this out, right? When I go to the doctor now, Mike Springer, good morning, right? And they want to check, they want to do a blood test. Do you know what I say? Why? You did a blood test 6 months ago or a year ago. Why do you now need a blood test? Because I have the type of blood that they want. Exactly. I don't want the Red Cross or anybody else come looking for me because they're short of my blood type. I'm kidding. I kid you not. So I'm asking the question, why do you need to do a blood test? What are we looking for? Right? So now we all need to be aware, hyper aware. You better be, because that's your DNA. That's you. What if years in the future you find out that they could actually take your DNA now and store it so that as we age and our bodies become subject to the organic processes of death and breaking down, right? What if they can take your youthful DNA and store it and at some point in the future put it back in your body? But they probably won't give it to you, right? No. What will they do? They'll give it to the highest donor, the person who pays the most money for it. But it's your body, it's your DNA, but you don't have any control over it. Have you ever read the fine print when you sign to submit your DNA to one of those websites, those ancestry websites? Have you ever read the fine print? See, for years I didn't participate in it because I said I'm an immigrant, and they probably don't have the roles when we arrive, but I fooled myself because they do. When you land at the airport and they give you stamp that I-94 form, right? I-94 form that you're a non-resident, right? Bam, they stamp that thing with your name, your date of birth, day you enter, and how long they're going to tell you to stay. And it's entered into a system, right? So they do have all the roles. They do have, right? So for years, I was like, but my ancestors didn't come from America, so it didn't apply to me. But then I began to thinking, what are they doing with all that DNA? And we all readily just hand it over. I think the system is so slick. And I think it got us. And we didn't even realize how much we were duped and how much we were taken. So we can laugh at this doctor because he's not a black man. Because here's what he said. He said, I can't be emotionally invested in 17 people. That's hilarious for me. I was laughing. I'm like, he's certainly not a black man, because we all know how that works, right? A black man, he can have as many people. I think we should all black men should take a page out of this guy's book. Can't be emotionally invested in 17 people. And I was like, that's too much to even think about. How are you going to remember all those names and who they're connected to? Good grief. But it's more the shock. When you look at his face, to me, what is more representative is the embarrassment that as a member of the medical profession, I should have known better. I should have foreseen a future in which my DNA would become so valuable that I should contain it. And now it's come roaring back in my face 17 times, much to the embarrassment of myself, my children, my wife, and my community. And black men are just like, hey, that's my story every day. We just go down to the friend of court until the court and just sort it all out, and we just pay some child support, right? I'm just laughing at the way that it is presented. But do you see what I mean? I think we all need to stop and think about this. So if you have a son and you have a daughter who is in college and who are likely to go donate, because nobody knows, the girls go and give over their eggs all the time, especially in some parts of the country, in New York and certain parts of California. These things happen, right? Go and talk to them and say, know what you're doing, because it will come back. What if at some point somebody comes back and says, I'm going to hold you accountable for 21 years of 18 years of, it's 18, right? 18 years of child support that you didn't pay. You fathered a child. 18. If I were that doctor right now, I'd transfer everything out of my name. I wouldn't put it in my wife's name. I wouldn't put it in my children's name if I were him. Because he could be facing some lawsuits from some women because he was just a medical student. They didn't know he was a doctor. And they're probably, somebody looking at it, you mean to tell me you could have paid some child support and you didn't? Right? So it's time for us. This is a wake up call, right? For us to say something. Let me see what folks are saying. I would not let my child go near a college. Raven Bishop, I have followers on YouTube, Mike Springer and Raven Bishop. Raven, seriously, baby, they have to go to college. It's the rite of passage for young adults, okay? To go into adulthood, they got to go through that stage. That 4 years of college, they need that. They need that. It's like an intervention. Just think about it. They're out of your house, right? And they don't have to eat your food, and you certainly don't have to cook for them, because we all know that little people eat a lot when they grow up. And everybody says, Amen. Right? You're still cooking. Mom, have you cooked? Dad, Dad, have you passed by the store lately like a gallon of milk? Dude, Dad, really? right? And they check dad's wallet, and dad is sitting there like, hello, I love you. And they're like, love can't buy me food, dad. Handouts. Children, they never stop. So yeah, they need to go to college, honey. They need to, right? But just think about it. Just think about it. This doctor, he was a medical student. Now, I could perhaps forgive him had he not been a medical student. Do you see what I mean? Had he not been a medical student, I probably could say, well, he didn't know better. No, but with all the knowledge and information that he had access to, it indicated to him that there is biology in then their genes. And giving it away is giving away your genes. And that those, especially with sperm, you're creating a human being. So at some point, these people are going to grow up to be children. What if you encounter them? What if you meet them and you went out with them and had sex and then found out that, they were a sperm donor? What would you do? It never occurred to him. And that's where it comes from. But if this has happened, you know what it tells us? It's kind of close to think about it, right? It's close to think about, but now you have to think about possibilities that this has happened, and that now for all of you guys who had donated your DNA and your biology into some sort of contracting device that captured it, you now have to go check it out, because now you want to know, what did they do with it, who did they distribute it to, so that you don't run into those people, so that your children don't end up dating someone whom they're related to. And that, my friends, is how the cookie is crumbling, right? Sucks, major, but it is a lesson to all of us. And I think we need to examine the ways in which we perhaps have looked at it. We probably have looked at it from the other side. I know 20 and 30 years later, we happen to be looking at it. Don't you think, Mike? Yeah? Don't you think? Right? We probably need Raven. I know you have something to say about this, but think about it. We were looking at it from the other side, and now we're looking at it from a whole other perspective. That there are 17 human beings from this doctor walking around out there. His children, his sons, probably even dated them, probably even had sex with someone he was probably related to. And some of you out there are struggling with fertility and you can't understand why you can't have children. You need to go start talking. Did your mom ever visit a sperm bank at any time? Because I know that I came from a sperm bank. So if your mom had visited, let's see if we're not related. Because it seems to me that they were randomly collecting people's sperm and DNA and just giving it out to someone 17 times. It probably has happened more frequently than we are comfortable wanting to know. And as for me, if it were me and I had anything to do with that, I don't know. I don't know that I could come forward publicly, but I do know that I would feel affected by it. And it's at this point that you want to say, wow, did that really happen? Right? And so stay tuned. We'll be right back.